Hello and welcome to the More Cheese, Less Whiskers podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Kirsten Fox from the Culinary Wine Institute in Utah, the wine capital of America. And it's very funny. But we had a really great conversation. I've known Kirsten for a while. She's been working with us in our email mastery program. So I've gotten to work with her on some case studies that she's been doing. And she has a really great business that trains the staff of resorts and hotels on helping their servers become more knowledgeable about wine so that they can then pass on that knowledge to the diners and impact the amount of wine that ends up being sold at the restaurants. So we had a really great conversation. We went a little bit over the hour, but I think you're going to like where it went because we ended up talking about something that could be a really great, have a really great impact for her when we started talking about creating custom metrics, a proprietary metric that only comes from you, that you can wrap your training around, that becomes a proof element of both their need for you and the impact of working with you. So I'm excited for you to hear this episode. Kirsten Fox.
Hello, Dean Jackson.
How are you?
I am well here in Park City as the Sundance Film Festival gets into its second weekend, which is a lot calmer for the locals here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's really
what a cool
fun.
What a cool thing. Do you go?
Yeah, it is. I do actually. I go. I'm a member of one of the little theaters in town, and they're one of the key marquees for the event. So we get some tickets associated with that. And then they have a really fun app system that allows you to sync up with friends and meet them in the waiting list line.
Nice.
And yeah, they've done a great job. So
how long have you lived in Park City?
I've lived here for 24 years.
Oh, wow. So have you always gone? Sundance was a whole different thing 24 years ago, wasn't it? It's really
you're right. Yeah. You're so right, Dean. I didn't really know about it. I didn't really understand what was going on in town for a while, and I had little tiny children back then, and so really did everything I could, as many locals do, to avoid it. And has been fun. It's been fun since and even my youngest daughter. They have special screenings that with the filmmakers and the directors and things that go into the schools now, and actually they're doing a lot of more outreach into the community. So it's been really fun to see that evolution of it here in town. So
right on.
Great.
Well, cool. Well, I'm very excited today. This is our chance to hatch some evil schemes for you. Now, the interesting and different thing is that you and I have had some interactions with you through email mastery. So I know of the backstory on kind of what you do and what's been going on. Most of the time when I'm doing this podcast, it's the first time we're meeting. So for the benefit of other people listening, maybe you could share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then maybe what we could build. We could build on the stuff we've already been working on. Maybe just kind of set the stage and catch up on where we are right now.
Great, thank you, Dean. I own two different wine education companies, and they are directed at different target markets, which is why I have two different companies. So one is a local company here in northern Utah called Fox School of Wine. And so that is directed at the public. It's fun, playful classes. We do corporate events, that kind of thing. And then I have a company called the Culinary Wine Institute. And that company partners with resorts around the country to increase profits from their wine program. And I have a 3-part system that we use to work with the resorts to basically increase the success from that profit center.
Okay, perfect. And so the revenue that you bring in for the companies is really about the education stuff, and not selling wine, or not as a wine wholesaler or distributor or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay.
And what I wanted to talk with you about today, and I'm so fortunate and excited to talk with you, is specifically about Culinary Wine Institute, because it has, it's got, really more bandwidth to be systemized, to be really retooled. And I also went through I started it in 2012, and I was focusing primarily on independent restaurants. And that market is a very challenging market to work in, which I had been told, which unfortunately I typically don't listen to advice like that. It's more of a dare then that I can do that if nobody else has.
Yeah, watch me.
Yes. So I did that for 4 years. I pushed the boulder up the hill and had a few successes. But as I worked with the independent restaurateurs and the managers, they just end up being an emergency-focused type of personality. They have to be in that industry. And so where my system that I've developed, which is a 3-part system where we've got online training, videos, training, testing, and certification for the servers, and then we have wine list analysis, and then we have actually a customization where we'll do live events or live classes based on the specific resort restaurants. And so the systemization of this and the tools that I have, reports, that kind of thing, weren't attractive or effective with the independent restaurant market for one reason or another. And so one of my friends ended up being promoted to a food and beverage director at a very beautiful resort here in Park City called Deer Valley Resort, and they're number one in food and beverage, year after year after year in terms of all ski resorts in the United States. And she knows of my program, and she brought me in and said, we need this. I want it systemized. I want this taken out of the personality-based kind of, whether I have, I have a manager over here who implements something. I have a manager over there who doesn't. I want it to be systemized. So with that, they were the first client last year of a resort nature. They have 5 restaurants. And then this year, I was able, with their success in increasing sales, and then as one of the key people under her said, setting increased revenue aside, saving the resort embarrassment, saving the server and the resort embarrassment in front of the guests is primary. So with that, with those great testimonials, I was able to then go out and get other area resorts. So this year, right now, we have Snowbird and we have Vail Park City, which is, they've just purchased this huge resort, 2 resorts, and put them together here in Park City. I have a big golf resort, and then I have a Southern Utah resort. So we're starting this process of the resort model, and
I like it.
That's where I am right now. And so in light of that, I have some information about what I think is going to happen, some information about what has happened, which has been a little more random than I would have liked. And then we can kind of move forward. But because I am still at such a small test group here,
Sure.
almost every one of these resorts has had kind of an individual model because I'll work it for them. Like, what do you need? What do you want? And so it kind of hasn't gotten into a systemization for resorts yet, aside from the delivery of the education online. Yeah.
Right. And I think and that's fine. As you're going to learn what are the things that are universally true across the board as far as resort wine programs go. So that you'll develop your own, your own kind of contextual program to overlay. Just like I have the 8 profit activators, that are universally present in every business. They manifest differently in all kinds of different businesses, right? So they'll manifest differently as we discuss them here for your business. So, and so the same kind of thing will apply. Now, when you take a context like the 8 profit activators, we've got you've got the opportunity to work with a fixed kind of operating system that you can then develop the actual protocols for a specific resort. So when you look at it, what's the best thing that you can do for the resort? Like, what's the outcome that you end up creating for them? Just to give me a sense of where this fits for what you're doing. Are you helping them get more wine sales? Are you helping them, in operationally? Are you helping them? I guess what my interpretation of what you're doing is that you're giving them a context within the during unit of their business. But I'd love to hear from you what the outcome would be for them.
Okay. Certainly at the bottom line is the bottom line.
Yeah.
They want to increase the profitability from that part of their resort. The wine program has, it tends to be run slightly separately from other parts of the restaurants because it can be such a high ticket cost and such. So certainly increased wine sales is key. On the same coin, and maybe not the other side of it, but on that same coin is the fact that most food and beverage managers at resorts are working with a population of frontline staff who are not interested at this point in their lives. They tend to be young. And I mean, there are definitely some very professional servers in resorts, and they are absolutely studied and care about their profession, and they're amazing, and they are peak, hospitality professionals. But for the most part, the resorts are faced with every year, either once or twice a year, getting a team of new employees up and running as quickly and easily as possible into their jobs. And so, and with a restaurant that has a wine list, the job not only incorporates what is the gluten-free option on, of the salads, and, do we have a vegetarian this or whatever as they're described in the food. It obviously is helpful if the servers can talk about the beverage options, which includes wine, which is such a huge subject that it's hard to almost distill it into simplicity, but there are some things you can do to make it that experience for the server so they understand what they're doing. So I would say the double goal is money on the bottom line, increase in profitability from wine sales, and then also helping the servers be confident in front of the guests so that they're effective at selling.
And there's the thing is, how much can the front line make an impact on the wine sales? I imagine
it's actually a huge
pretty
impact.
Big number, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A third of the guests sitting down at a table, about a half of the guests will actually intend to drink something, an alcoholic beverage of some kind. So about a half of that. And so then you've got a third of that group that are debating what it is do they understand it well enough, or are they going to just defer back to a Diet Coke? Right. And so there's that server. There are some people who are walking in and they're going to drink a glass of wine no matter what. And in that case, the server can actually, based on what they're ordering, as in terms of the food, they can really impact a person's experience with the food. And I would say an experience between, let's take a beautiful chocolate chip cookie, and it's right there in your hand, and you bite into it, and it's just, oh my gosh, the chocolate, it's amazing. And then picture an ice cold glass of lemonade and take a big swig of that, and it's horrible. I mean, it's just not a good combination. So when we can teach the server about suggesting wines that become more of that nice cold glass of milk with that cookie, then they are empowered and the guests have a better experience. So it's really great all around. Mm-hmm. So they can impact it in a huge way.
Now, if you look at this, how much of an impact do you think you could have on somebody? That's the question I always ask people. Like, if knowing what you know now, knowing what you do, putting aside how you actually do it or how much you charge for it currently, what would be the best outcome that you could create for somebody if they would just get out of the way and let you do what you can do?
Are you talking about on the macro level, like for the resort, or are you talking about with an individual server?
You tell me. So on a macro, on the macro level for a resort, but that would go all the way down. Like if you look at it as the resort is the umbrella, they've got 5 different restaurants. They've got 150 servers or whatever that ends up being. How would you look at it in every element that the wine education component could make a difference for them? What would you?
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the resort level, a food and beverage director is looking for that an increase in sales without the increase with a minimal increase of expense. They are also looking for a guest experience that is remarkable enough that their guests are out chatting about their experience at the resort, so that then they start getting the word of mouth if they don't already have it, and also certainly social media. Those kinds of effects on a resort are huge. So we want it to be profitable for them, and we want it to be effectively training their servers in a consistent way. Then at the restaurant level, you have the manager who has to implement this program, and that manager is looking for something that is not just the same old thing that they have to then make their servers do, and because they're going to hear complaints from the servers, and they want to be able to say, hey guys, it's not that bad. This is going to be a pleasant surprise. And by the way, maybe there's a competition, or maybe there's a prize over here, or that. So they want it to be a really pleasant experience for their servers, because that they have to manage them. And then at the server level, I'll tell you exactly, because I've interviewed servers in regards to this. And I had a server who I called after she'd been through the program. She was she'd worked at this American Grill at this point for 15 years. She doesn't drink wine, and every time someone would ask her at her tables if she could give them a recommendation, she would say, "Let me go find someone to help you." And she would go find someone that drank wine, bring them back over to the table. The person would explain it. And, this is a horrible feeling to be a server and not be able to help your guests.
Mm-hmm.
So she said to me, after she went through the online training and testing and certification and that, she had a table of 3 people the following evening after she had completed the program. And the guests asked, "What do you suggest we get? We want a bottle of wine. We've all ordered X, Y, and Z." And she said, "I had enough confidence from what I learned that I made a suggestion as to a bottle of wine that would go with everything. They liked it so much," she said, "they ordered a second bottle, and she said they doubled my normal tip at my table." And she said, "And that's my water bill." And, that kind of actually still chokes me up, man.
Yeah, right. No, I get it. Mm-hmm.
It's so awesome. So to take someone who literally has run away from this, to take her into a place where she is confidently referring a wine to people and seeing the positive results of her risk, it's just, and she gets the financial reward then. So, that's like all 3 levels there.
Mm-hmm. And that's really, when you look at that it's really sold on on that frontline level. And I was thinking about the other thing that it may be, that it may impact is on events or groups, weddings or whatever functions that they're doing, right? But that would be a sales function that the wine is already pre-selected for the function, not on the front line in the moment.
Yes,
but let's look at the would they sell a typical resort situation like this? Would they sell more wine to individual diners or to functions, like as included as part of a wedding or a conference or banquet?
So typically in the banquet department, they are dealing with conference services managers. Those people are in an office. They're not that frontline employee.
They're not that discerning.
They're doing, okay, what's your price point? Do you want
do you want wine? Do you want
bronze,
the red or
silver?
the
Bronze, silver, or gold package. These are the ones, and these are the wines that we include in each one of these levels, and it's just done. Now, not to say that it's a better experience for the guests if the server is saying, "Would you like a glass of the Sauvignon Blanc or the Malbec tonight?" But it typically comes out red or white, and so that piece of it is a huge moneymaker, but it's not where my training specifically will help right now.
That's what I want to do, is kind of narrow this down. So literally, the biggest impact that you can have is on the front line, because all the wine is being sold at individual tables to individual diners. And that is being influenced in a number of ways. I mean, you can certainly influence it environmentally, meaning on the tables, on the menu, on the, and that kind of thing. If you were to coordinate with do most of these would they have a sommelier, or would they have somebody
typically
with a chef?
At the resort level, they often, as I'm sure you see at resorts when you're traveling, they'll have a casual grill, and then and those servers, they won't have a sommelier there. Then they'll
Right.
have the wood-fired, pizza place, and then they'll have the
Yeah.
Mexican, whatever. So
Yeah.
often at a resort, there will be either a sommelier at the top restaurant at the resort, or
Yeah.
there will be a manager that is trained at a higher level or cares about wine,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, that will carry that top restaurant. Usually
Yeah.
below that top restaurant, there aren't somms on staff working. It's just too expensive to keep them around.
I got it. But if you think about, would there be the possibility to have a consulting sommelier from the top? Where at the grill, for instance, if they're talking about this, this great wood-fired pizza that is now that is like a spicy sausage pizza or something that is paired with this Spanish wine that's not going to be overpowered by the spice or whatever. That's going to enhance it, just like you're saying. Like it's funny. I had a friend whose uncle is was for years the main wine guy for the Four Seasons Resort. And so Paul used to get to go on these trips to all of these vineyards with him as they're, tasting and testing wines for the resort, for the whole organization level. So it was kind of an interesting thing. But, he was sharing the things that he learned, like some of the, with steak that has like a rub that is sort of more flavorful. Steak rub would be overpower most red wines, but if you pair it with this, it was like a Spanish wine that was a bold red that was really an enhancement. So it's amazing. I see what you're saying with the cookie with the milk compared to lemonade, that it makes a difference. Yeah. So that type of thing. I wonder if on that level, like on the casual grill, in the secondary restaurants are probably where most of the food is going to be consumed, even more than the fine dining restaurant per se, right? If you look at it, just they've got one tippy top place, but then the others, just by volume, probably would make up more.
Absolutely.
More actual diners. And that could probably be a situation where they collectively may drink less wine per diner than somebody at the fine dining, where it's more expected in the environment that you're going to have wine in a fine dining
There'll
restaurant.
be a higher percentage of beer or hard liquor drinks, those kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As opposed to at the secondary places, right?
So my training it's called right now. I have this level produced, silver level 1. It is extremely basic, at the bottom level of literally how is red wine red and white wine white. Like, what does the word dry mean? These are concepts that are super. I mean, dry. It's a drink. What are you talking about, dry? And then you overlay the word dry on fruity and sweet and all this. So it's a lower, very low level, very basic. And then I have 2 levels projected when I can get some kind of, I really wait till there's that tipping point of, okay, I dialed this level in, now let's move it, now I can add the next level. So then there'll be 2 other levels. Level 2 will be gold, level 3 will be platinum, and that will be it. And we are all of this education is it is not for a sommelier. This is all completely for a wait staff person who is from the lowest level to maybe intermediate high level, and then you'd be looking at a sommelier after that. So we're in that sweet spot between nothing and somm, right there, in terms of the level that we'll be training. So tell me what you were talking about, the somm consult at the grill.
Well, I'm wondering here's the thing, that if the servers that it's not their confidence that they're drawing on to make the recommendation, it's that the somm has consulted with the menu and makes a suggestion that this would be the 3 wines that I would recommend with this entree, so that the servers just know what to say. They don't have to know.
Yes.
I get this idea that if they did have the basic understanding of what makes a dry wine and understanding tannins and maybe just the basic things about what wine is, but if they could, it would almost be like from memory in a sense, right? If they could, that they have like the server's edition of the menu that if somebody asks, well, why do you recommend? Well, what are you having? The sommelier recommends this, or this. So there's like the 3 levels. Like if there's an expensive wine, that this would be the one, or this one, or this one, that they can give somebody specifics. Because if you really look at that dynamic, it's just as, I don't know what the right word is, but the special dynamic, if we just isolate in on it, between the diner and the server, that the diner doesn't want to look stupid. They in front of the server or the people that they're with. You know, somebody, if you just take it, most people, myself included, know really nothing about wine. I mean, we know just enough to know the basic things, but I wouldn't be able to like make any distinctions among varietals or among the different regions or anything like that. But it's almost like there's this sound bite sort of culture around it, right? That you can sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yes.
You know, like they would say, you know, do you have a, yes, I prefer a dry wine. You know, or, yes.
Absolutely.
So there's a thing about that where you can, you know, that's going on. And if the server has had any amount of training, there's a really good chance that they know more than 90% or more of the diners that are coming in there anyway.
Absolutely.
And when somebody asks, if they just say with confidence, oh, you're having the sea bass, well, this is the popular pairing with that. Or like just giving somebody options, and they're going to say, oh, that sounds good. And they're typically, less secondarily going to ask about the price, or they're seeing it on the menu, the price per glass or bottle. So it's less.
This is very effective. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, just giving somebody the confidence to say that if it's just like, and it really is, that's all people are looking for, is just that little boost of confidence, right? Or
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and I'm saying on both sides, not on the. It's a codependent interaction. You know, it really is, honestly.
Yeah, you're right.
Kirsten, I'm not kidding, right? Like they're looking to the server, and the server just needs to play the role of, I'm an authority. I'm standing, you're sitting, you're looking up at me. I am supposed to know this for you. And if I say with confidence, well, this is a popular choice with that, or this. And even if I just point to 2 of them, it's a, it's a win.
So What's interesting is I do this for my clients when we move into like the wine list analysis and that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do exactly what you're saying. I take a menu, we make a red and a white pairing for each of the entree options and any of the popular salads in that. But what I'm hearing, that interestingly has been subsequent to the team going through the online training. And in fact, almost like, hey, you guys, this is required. I want your team to at least understand tannin, acid, dry, sweet, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right.
And then I will work with you on your list, and I will work with you with your menu, and we will customize it based on what, I'll come in and do that, exactly what you're talking about for your team. And so, but what I'm hearing you say, interestingly, is the entire educational component of this could be optional, and the menu wine list suggestion part that has previously been secondary, it could actually, that could be the primary, because that is technically, if I walked away, if that is the only thing I'm leaving the team with, here's a menu and here are the wines that I suggest based on your wine list for this, it's enough to make that server confident. It's enough to, but
even if there were a way, it would be an interesting thing to even talk about. I don't know whether, I've never seen anything like this, but it might be an interesting thing if there were some sort of, even an infographic or a graph or something that showed what types of wines go with what, in a way,
So I have one of those for you, Dean. I will send you one. I will gladly share. It's a system that you, in fact, if you want, you can print it out and it will fit inside a check holder for you. So I do have a pairing system of food and wine that I use. It's a free tool off my website if you want. That's one of the things that I offer. But yeah, there are different systems that are developed with that in mind. Make it easy, make it systemized.
Yeah. And
but
so that kind of thing,
every
even
menu
with
is different.
Yeah, but if that was part of the process then in your selection, that is sort of, I talked about it as like the teacher's edition of the the textbook or whatever. The server's edition, the server's edition of the menu includes what the right choices would be for them. That could be a help, or even on the front level. If you look at it from even setting the environment, like if it were celebrating some of the wines or highlighting some of the wines or educating even the people about the wines, especially in the more casual grill type of things. Nobody wants to go this wouldn't fit in a fine dining restaurant where you're creating some educational thing around it. But in a casual grill, that it could be an interesting thing that, table side or in the menu or in some way that there is some highlighting of or, featuring of different wines or how to choose a wine or something where it's educating the diners as well because most people, let's face it, they don't need much encouragement to order wine. They just, if it's written down and there's something there, let's try this. Or even if there was like a special a wine tasting course or something. Not, and I mean a course just like a flight, I guess. Of,
a flight.
Paired with appetizers or something. It could be like a mini wine tasting course while you're waiting for your meal, kind of thing, and then whatever one they really love then can get when the meal arrives, That could that'd be an interesting concept, but that requires more
your
involvement.
Olive Garden, I don't know if you've eaten at Olive Garden lately, but they do that exact thing. They have the menu. They have, after each entree, they actually, for the diner, they have suggested pairing, wine pairing.
Well, I'll tell you what, like you look at this, but Olive Garden is that is a major conglomerate, and when you look at, I often use restaurants as the illustration of the During unit because it's such a clearly defined experience, right? Like the During unit of a restaurant is, I take it from the moment somebody makes a reservation till they leave the restaurant, right? That whole, that's the entire During unit experience. Well, you go into an Olive Garden and they have it dialed in on every level,
right?
You look at the everything is all. Last time I was in Olive Garden, everything is automated. I mean, you pay your bill. You pay and go, swiping there at the table. You play all the video games or the trivia games and stuff in between. I mean, it's really they've jam-packed that dining experience. It's pretty. I didn't pay attention to the wine situation. We were with a couple of families, so it was more like just a family dining experience. But I seem to remember there was something where they bring a jug or something of wine, and you just
they do.
Yeah. Okay.
They bring
whatever they.
They bring a wine bottle. Now I'm even in Utah, which is pretty alcohol regulated, and they and they actually bring a bottle of wine in their arm, like here. I don't know where they do where in other states, but here they bring an unopened bottle of wine and they put it on the table and welcome you and. What can I get for you if there's anything besides water? I mean, like all it is subliminally putting that wine right in front of you.
Proximity.
And yes,
if you like
but now Dean, you're killing me here because you're basically like I am trying to get to a systemization. This is part of the challenge in this world that I live in is the systemization of making a suggestion on an entree with like we're talking about in such minute, like the spices in the dish, and depending on what wine's available in that location, it is such an individual. And let me tell you, I've got your productivity. I've got a whole graph. I've made a spreadsheet of your highest use of my time. And that, what we're talking about right here is the worst. It's a one-time shot. It's my work. It's not automated. I mean, it's like as far from what I want.
Yes.
So help me. I'm like, no, that's a lovely idea. And that would be great service for the client, but I can't do it.
Okay. So when you look at this, like, can you, what could you do? So it's not based on individual spices, but certainly if you had a simplified matrix, spicy, sweet, savory, right? 3 basic things. That's pretty easy to categorize, right? And then you had, so now you're saying, does that mean, like, what would be, and this is where my I won't say ignorance, but my not understanding, my depth of knowledge is out of the region now, that if there is a sweet dish versus a savory dish versus a spicy dish, what would be in the red family or white or whatever? What would go into, like, what are the basic rules of this? That spicy, what's the equivalent of knowing that you don't, pair chocolate chip cookies and lemonade? What's the milk?
Okay.
What's the wine equivalent of the milk for the cookie by that flavor profile?
So that can be systemized to a point, and yet I'm going to give you an example. You know how say chickpea can be savory, and that's a savory experience in your mouth. But then you also have, say, a piece of marbled meat that is also savory. We don't need to go into the wine education piece of this, but the savory piece of the chickpea doesn't have any fat in it, so it's very it doesn't stay on your palate long. The marbled meat literally covers your taste buds with the fat, and so in the chickpea example, you would, if you want a red wine that's going to go with a savory thing, you would take something that's very light red wine, and then the other case, you would take something with a high level of tannin, because tannin acts like sandpaper to your tongue. So, so in my videos that I have people going through and getting tested on, this basic information about fat and tannin is included at that lower level basic. So then all you need to know after, let's just say this same example, then all you need to know from your team at the restaurant is this a high fat dish or is this a low fat dish? Because now I understand
that's what
that
I'm
I
saying
look for
getting it to be very simple. That's what I'm getting it to be very simple.
So that's what the videos that's what the videos are. They're literally to a level like that.
Because, and when you look at it, that all of this, when this is a classic, you're intervening, you're helping out in the during unit of these, the resort dining experience here. And so you're truly only dealing with the core portion of that, where they're making the wine decision, right? And if we look at it, that when I look at the during unit experience, I look at it as a timeline, and we've got everything that the client actually experiences, the things that they see and interact with are the above the line experience, and everything else that happens below the surface is the below the line experience, right?
Which client? The resort or the guest?
No, I'm talking about the guest, because the guest.
Oh, the guest. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Where you're focused on everything that you're doing with your client is below the line in the actual guest experience of the resort, right? So the thing where the real focus is that whatever training you do, whatever method you use, whatever knowledge you impart to the servers, the frontline servers, because they're the only ones who are going to be interacting with the diner. Even when you look at it, that the food and beverage director is not going to have any interaction with the diner. The restaurant managers themselves are going to have limited interaction with the diners, if any. The frontline servers are the ones, every order for alcohol, every order for wine is going to come through the pen of the server, right? I mean, that's really how it's going to happen. So the only thing that matters is what this interaction between the server and the diner.
Okay.
And so any of the training and stuff really needs to be supported by just that communication skill, right? That confidence skill, the ability, if they know the answer sort of thing, once you know something about something, like once you get a new piece of knowledge, you feel like when that situation comes up again, you feel great because you know the answer.
Right.
And somebody else doesn't, and that raises your status in the herd in a lot of ways, right? Like that, you get the squirts of dopamine that you feel good that you knew something that they didn't. And so much of that is because of understanding that it's a codependent interaction, that you're each bolstering the other's, fear and sense of hoping that they don't get discovered. That's why, when they bring the wine and they pour the tasting portion in for the person, and everybody at the table kind of waits for the whoever ordered it to swish it around and look at it and taste it and oh yes, this will be fine. And everybody cringes if they say, oh no, that's off or whatever. Everybody's embarrassed. They don't want to send the wine back. And it's So you look at that as that's really what it comes down to, is what's going to make the impact. That's the reality of it, right? It seems like so.
Absolutely, that's the absolute reality. Yes.
And so when you get that absolute reality, and then you can also, wrap it in what feels like a sort of more official training for your clients, so that they feel like they're equipping their servers with the knowledge that's going to impact the bottom line. That can make a big difference. And how much of a difference have you seen? How do you measure the success? Like, it seems like wine sales is the bottom line of all of it. That before training X, after training X plus what, or 2X or 3X or 4, how much of an impact can you make?
So, well, I mean, the resort Deer Valley, which is admittedly, I was a little bit worried because they are so already at the top of the food and beverage game in the resort industry, at least in the ski industry. And I was worried about them being setting a benchmark for me, which would, in my opinion, I was worried about being too low. I mean, they came back, one of their restaurants increased sales by 26%, wine sales.
26% of wine sales,
Yes. And then another of their restaurants doubled the number of full bottles sold. It took people out of the by the glass into full bottles. And so those were the two as we've just discussed, the level of assistance that I can provide at the restaurants. Those are the two lowest level restaurants at the resort. The other three I would call into the fine dining category, and one top restaurant in Utah. So literally, of the ones that I could make an impact at with this training, one was 26% increase, and the other doubled the number of sales of wine bottles. So I felt very good about that, but I don't have now data from these new restaurants yet. I will get that after.
How much money would that be for them? Like, what was the dollar amount that a 26% improvement would be?
They wouldn't disclose that.
Okay, they just share that. Yeah. What would you guess? I mean, I just to get a sense of the scope of how much wine a resort like that would sell.
Well, we're in Utah, so with a big caveat.
Right, exactly.
You know, they are actually, and this is part of the challenge with getting actual numbers, is the state of Utah regulates the percentage of wine or alcohol to food sales at a restaurant.
Oh, I gotcha.
And your liquor license is based on a percentage that then you can't get over, or you have to petition for a different license. So I really can't even. I can't even begin to tell you what those. I mean, they're into the millions of dollars. I don't know where in the millions.
Just the the scope, not.
This isn't small change. This is millions of dollars. Yeah.
I think that's
not my increase. Please, I didn't increase their bottom line millions of dollars. Their liquor sales are. Well, I don't think I could do that, but I can tell you that their liquor sales are into the millions. That would be about where I'd say I could confidently talk.
Okay, perfect. So now, if you're armed with this sort of knowledge, and I understand that you're just kind of starting out in that program, that now becomes your baseline, like where you're showing, you need to be able to document and show these as case studies in a way, right? So that you know, and if you own, if you have a set of sort of, metrics that you look at, that you can establish what the metrics are pre you and what you can show as the metrics post you, that becomes that becomes your calling card in a way, right? Like how long does it take how long is your engagement with a resort to do a program like this?
I do at the beginning of when I'm first starting to work with them, I offer them a 30-day jumpstart program, which gets the entire team up and running within 30 days. And then what I do is about the 28th day, I say, I give them reports along the way about who's registered, who's completed, blah, blah, blah. And then at the 28th day, I say, hey guys, you're getting close to the end, make sure everybody gets through it. You got 2 more days. And then don't worry, we're here for you after this. But I'm not going to talk to you about that till you get the team through. And then I follow up, and they know at the beginning, I will ask them, I will say, if you wouldn't mind sharing your percentages of sales from a test month. So, for example, with Vail, they are finishing their program the 31st of January. And so I will be saying to them, I will be looking for your numbers from February of 17 compared to February of 18 and see what has happened to the wine sales. So
that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
That's my only metric right now. I wish I could measure some other metric, but that's the only one I can think of that's somewhat easy for them to find and speak.
Yeah, no, you want to make it easy. Right. You want to make it easy, right? And that's the thing. And even if you can, when you take a metric, and I understand why it's important to say February over February, but if you can have a metrics reduced down to an index where you can say like per 100 diners, that's that makes a metric easier to impact faster. So you could say like no matter what time of season that allocate that because you're looking at it that in a ski resort, January, February are the peak times, right?
Right.
So
right.
when you look at that, if you're comparing that to October or to April or whatever, you're going to see that that doesn't have the same relevance as combining it to an index that is broken down to, per 100 tickets, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because certainly once I prove this model, I'm going to be reaching out to quickly to other ski resorts, because it's so easy to do that. But then the whole beach, Florida resorts that are ramping up in February for spring break. And so then if I'm looking, that's great. The per 100 diners is across the board any season.
And that way you can create a proprietary index. And this is something that when you're talking that way, you're the only one that own that number, right? I mean, because you're the only one that talks about it. So on the real estate side, for instance, I've created a series of metrics that I look at that I'm the only one that talks about these, right? So I've associated with that. This program is associated with me. So I have, for instance, on the real estate side, we calculate something called the listing multiplier index. And that means that every time a real estate agent gets a new listing to sell somebody's house, how many transactions do they turn that opportunity into? So each time they get a listing, they've got 5 opportunities that go with it. They've got the opportunity to get that listing sold. They've got the opportunity to find the buyer themselves. They've got the opportunity to find a buyer who buys another house. They've got the opportunity to get the next listing in the neighborhood. And they got the opportunity to get a referral from the seller. So there's 5 transactions that could happen as a result of getting that one listing. Most of them do not focus on anything other than put it in the MLS and hope that somebody brings a buyer for it, right? So we have them go back. We have them go back over their last 10 listings, and we look at how many points out of a possible 50 did they get on their last 10? And we look at it that when I do this, when I present this to them for the first time, typically they're going to be somewhere between 8 and 15, because sometimes they'll take out of 10 listings, 2 of them don't sell. So they end up, maybe they got 8. They got 8 out of a 50 possible points. But if it's let's say they got 15, where they got all their listings sold, and a couple of them they found another buyer who they worked with to find another house, and then 1 or 2 they found the actual buyer for the house themselves. So they got 15 out of 50. That when we divide it by 10 becomes their listing multiplier index. So that means that their current system, every time they get 10 listings, it's going to turn into 1.5 transactions per listing.
Wow.
Right? And we try and get that number up. So now, by focusing on it, by me inventing that metric, talking about the system to reach those other objectives, and showing people how to do it, in my world, it's not uncommon for people to have a listing multiplier index of 3.5. So when I share this with somebody the first time, and I have them do their listing multiplier index, and then they see that the people that work with me have a listing multiplier index of 3.5, they automatically see that can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the next year for them, right?
This is this is brilliant, because if I can develop, based on my knowledge and based on my experience with the resorts, experience with the restaurants, experience with the servers, like the whole, and then my wine education, and that I could develop an assessment tool for a resort that would allow them to, like you're saying, analyze each of their restaurants individually, then themselves as a resort, and
their servers individually. So imagine if there's a leaderboard for servers, that each server has a wine multiplier index, or a wine, whatever you decide to call it, that Sarah, out of 100 diners, has a wine multiple index of X, that she brings, this many people, or this many bottles, or this many ounces, or however you would measure it, right? You don't want to necessarily, you could have different divisions of it for dollar volume or point. You could just, have 3 different point loads. But certainly when you think about what the dollar volume could be, would be 1, but also then just the unit number, so that out of 100 diners, that she has, 25 or 50 or whatever, however that number works out. If you can establish what that number is beforehand, that could be your signature index, and that becomes a very easy then presentation to food and beverage directors of saying, look, this is what we do. Here's the problem. You've got servers and whatever it is right now, and you ask them, what's your ump number? You name the number, right? When I say to somebody, what's your listing multiplier index? They'll say, well, what's that? Oh, okay, well, let's take the last 10 listings and that.
I love it.
Right. So you say to that, right, is what's your diner?
What's your wine multiplier? Yeah. Your server wine multiplier index. What?
Yeah.
That's what I like about that as well, is I think that could be something that I could automate online. And I mean, that would pull in, if I was on, Facebook, and I saw what's your resort team's wine multiplier index, I would be like, wait a second.
Right.
I mean, that's candy, because it gives me some kind of benchmark, which in this industry is so hard to find comparisons, benchmarks. It's just, it's so elusive. And I think I could probably come up with something like that. That's great.
You could, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have something somewhere that shows what your listing I love using analogies from other people's examples. Do you have something where I could see what your listing multiplier index is? So I can kind of look at it and go 4 parts.
Yeah, sure. So, I have a podcast called Listing Agent Lifestyle, and that's at listingagentlifestyle.com. So that's where we talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm not familiar with that because I'm not an agent. I've heard your stories on other things. Well, that is so cool. That's a big
idea, Kirsten.
Yeah, this is because, Dean, when I filled out the Profit Activator scorecard on this business, I scored worst in compel your best prospects, because everything I've done up to now has been personal relationships, in-person meetings, listening, customizing, and getting that initial will you see me? Can I talk to you? I've got something for you that you would love is this right there. And you know what? If people aren't interested in the metrics, they're not going to be a good client of mine. Like,
no, food and beverage, but there's the thing where now you get it up there that a food and beverage director is, especially if they've never heard of a metric like that, you know?
Yes. It's just out of curiosity's sake, I'd click on it.
Of course.
Gosh. Oh, that's so awesome. Okay, thank you. I am going to put that into my craw and let it marinate for a while. I love it.
Great. I think that's awesome. And then,
thank you the good, so much.
Yeah, when you start working on that, then with the email campaigns, we can connect in email mastery on that too.
Yeah, that email mastery program is so helpful, and it's so nice to be able to touch base and just touch in, ask a question, go work on something. So, wow, thank you for this opportunity. It's been great. I really appreciate it, and I will keep you informed through the email mastery program how this works. How fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Kirsten.
Thank you, Dean.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And there we have it. I really enjoyed that. Kirsten has, I think, a really, really great opportunity with this proprietary metric. Now, we just need to figure out a name for it to really, so that it makes sense to a food and beverage director and all the way down to the servers, where you imagine if we could gamify the process of their wine multiplier index or whatever it ends up being. And that's what's really going to drive everything, is the self-interest of the servers on the front line. If they see that they're making more money and they're having more fun and more confidence in those wine conversations, that's going to make a difference on the bottom line. So I hope you enjoyed that one. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and you can download a copy of the More Cheese, Less Whiskers book. And if you click on the Be a Guest link, you can be a guest on the show and we can hatch some evil schemes for your business. Kirsten, I mentioned, is part of our email mastery program, and I've gotten to work with her on a couple of different email case studies that she's been working on. She's gotten tremendous results. So if you would like to be part of our Email Mastery Academy and work together with me to create some email case studies for your business, send me an email. Send an email to dean@deanjackson.com and put email mastery in the subject line, and I'll get you all the details for our next case study group, which is coming up very shortly. So that's it for this week. Have a great time, and I will talk to you next time.